Hey artists, today we're going to be drawing some gnomes and then we're going to draw a landscape background, including lots of fun kind of fantasy details for him. So follow along with me and I'll show you all the steps. All right, to start our gnomes off, we want to draw him. You could have him in the center or maybe off-centered on one of the sides. It's up to you. I think I'm going to put mine on kind of the left side. So I want to start in the center of my paper because I'd like my gnome to kind of be this whole top to bottom. So I start in the center of my paper and I'm going to draw just kind of a line that has a little bit of a curve to it like that. The next thing I'm going to do is have that come up to a point, and this is going to be his pointy little gnome hat. Ta-da! Once you've got his hat finished, the next thing you want to do is put his big gnome nose sticking out from under his hat. His hat is down over his eyes. He can barely see out of this thing. After you've got that, we're going to do kind of like a U shape. It's going to go out, over, and then back up. And then you can add his beard. There's so many different varieties to this. If you wanted to do one that doesn't have a beard, you could have like pigtails coming down to have like a little girl gnome. So you could have like big pigtails coming out or long hair. If we're doing one that has like a mustache or a beard, you could draw like the big mustache. And then you could have his beard coming down, which is going to be like kind of a bumpy. And there's his beard. And then we can give him some little arms. Arms. And then his little hand. And then his other arm and his hand. And ta-da! You have drawn your first gnome. Now, like I said, you can kind of spice him up by thinking about different things you want to add to him. You could have his hat come down and have like a flower or a little anything kind of hanging off the end there if you want, which is kind of fun. So we could have like a little flower or just like a little poofy thing coming down, whatever you would like. And then we want to think about the background. Another thing, one more point, is that you could add some shoes if you want. And in order to do that, you're just going to draw kind of a half circle and a half circle. Then you'll erase that line, and voila, you have some little gnome shoes sticking out of his little jacket. Okay, so the next thing that I would like us to do is we're going to check out an artist. And she is a folk artist who is alive today, living in Pennsylvania. And her name is Mary Charles. And I will be showing everybody during class some of her artwork. And some of it's really fun. Like she'll have a teapot with a door where he could be living. Or a little cottage with little flowers and little fairies and things like that. Or a little mushroom house. So you're going to be able to think of whatever kind of magical background you would like your gnome to be in. He could be living in a pumpkin. He could be living in a boot. He could be living in a flower. It is totally your choice. I think what I'm going to do is like the little mushroom house. I think that'll be fun. So in order to do that, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to draw the bottom of the mushroom. And then I'm going to draw the top of the mushroom, kind of going right off the page and coming down like this. And then I'm going to have just kind of that part that goes over the top like that. So there's this big mushroom in the woods where this little gnome is living. And so I want to give him a little door and the little window. And you can get real silly with these. We could put a little window up here too, maybe with some little shutters. And maybe there's like another part of the house that's in another little mushroom. And over here we've got another little window. And you can get real silly with these and have all kinds of things. So I'm going to draw the ground. I'm going to have him right here, and he's kind of up close, and I'm going to have this be further away. So I drew a little hill for him to stand on, and then I draw this little hill in the background, and then we can have that winding path that's kind of coming up to where he is. And it'll start a little smaller, and it's going to get bigger as it comes up and goes up to where he's at. Lots of different things you could be adding. You could add in some flowers. Maybe we could put a big moon back here. Let's put a moon. And so we're just going to be adding that kind of mystical, fun element with flowers and different things like that. So maybe I'll have some big bushes. Oh, a fence. I'll put a little fence over here next to his little mushroom house. A movie that I think of sometimes when I'm drawing these is the movie Trolls. I feel like they had some really cool little houses and fun things that you could think of to put in your picture for sure. So there's the little fence, and then I'm going to put some bushes back here growing. And then I can have some different fun little plants growing, like some flowers and whatever. So it really gets to just be a work of your imagination. As you kind of add different details to your little gnome. He could be a winter gnome, maybe holding a lantern and out in the snow. He could be a spring gnome, waking up on like a spring day. So many different choices, but now let's start adding some color. So I went ahead and added some color to his jacket and his shoes and his little beard. And it's going to be totally your choice how you choose to color his clothes, his little face, or what you can see of it. Or if you did a girl gnome, you could add some colorful hair coming out. So right now I'm just working on this crazy gnome hat. And you can decide how you want to decorate it. I'm just doing some little kind of dotted lines. And then once you have him how you'd like him, you can start working on your background and just deciding what colors you want to add and how you want to decorate this whole picture. It's just kind of a fun fantasy drawing and scene, something from your imagination and not something from reality really. But you can be inspired by real things, like you can think of real plants that you like or decorations, or maybe I always think it's cool when under the window they have the little thing that holds the plants, like the little plant box, and I could have some plants kind of coming out of there. So any little details you'd like to add, this is an awesome picture to do that with. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is work on this mushroom. So I'm going to grab this. Actually, I'll make one of, I like those mushrooms you find that have like the little red with the little white dots. So I'll draw some of those little white dots on the top of these little mushrooms. I do love in the spring when there's so many different weird mushrooms growing in my yard because they look so funny. Some of them do. All right. So I'll probably go ahead and color that part in. And then I can also have like those little lines on the inside of the mushroom that go out. And again, I always like to use marker for like my darker details, but using your colored pencils is going to give it a really smooth, more professional look when you're coloring in. I wouldn't color everything in with your markers because that can tend to look a little more kind of wonky. So right now I'm going to go ahead and color in some more details. So I added a little color to the house, and then I was thinking about just showing some little plants coming out of the plant box. So I'm just using kind of a squiggly line and just some little plants that are coming out of the little plant box they have up here, and then I'll just kind of fill it with fun plants coming out, and that looks a little more exciting. And I can do the same thing here, just kind of squiggly lines and filling up the plant box and having some plants spilling right out. All right, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and color in, you know, the path, and then I can start adding some stuff to the ground. I'm not going to do just green because it's supposed to be kind of like a really fancy magical fairyland, so I'll probably show like some different flowers growing. The great thing is we can just use our marker and we can show some little flower bushes just with dots. We can just go, okay, here's a little flower bush of orange flowers here and here. So I'm just kind of going crazy with some little dots. And it gives the illusion that there's a little bush there with lots of orange flowers. And we can do that with a bunch of colors and just make it look a little more exciting than a plain green area. So I can put some more orange flowers here. Maybe there's another little bush right here. And we can use the red one. Add some little red flower bushes, just growing everywhere in front of his magical little house. I think these are really fun. It makes it look way more exciting. Just little dots, and it looks like we've got flowers. I'm gonna grab my yellow marker as well. Or actually, let's do some blue ones. So I'm just kind of doing like little half circles made out of little dots. I can put some here. And then when it gets up closer, I could actually show that it looks like little flowers inside the little area. All right. Now I'm going to take my green crayon and I can color in around these bushes, and it looks like there's all these flowers growing in the field outside. I just really spiced it up. And if you want to add a little extra detail, you can grab your marker and just show some little wispies of grass just kind of throughout. Just use your imagination. Just throwing in some extra plants and making it more fun. And I'll do that on this side too. Just some little chunks. Wow, that really changed the whole picture. Up here, we can have where the grassy hill comes up here, where he's standing. We could have him on a little path too. So again, it's just getting creative and thinking whatever you would like. Maybe this path came up over the hill over here. So I can put the little path under him. And he's just standing here looking over his amazing house. So I'm just kind of coloring that part in. And you can be doing anything you want on this part. You could have some different plants. You could have little bugs and butterflies floating around. Just whatever you think will look cool. And I'm probably going to make this part a little darker. The next thing you want to think about is the sky. Now I drew a moon, so it's going to be more of a nighttime sky. Maybe like dusk when the sun is about to set and the moon's just coming out. You could have it be morning. You could have a sunrise behind there with your warm colors. It's going to be whatever you think is going to look best for your little gnome. So just be thinking, what would you like to add? Do you want to have birds in the sky? Do you want an owl? Do you want different animals hanging out? Totally your choice. I did say I wanted to do some bushes back here, so I was gonna kind of just draw the outline of some little bushes back here. And I might put some berries on them just for fun. So I'll grab this. Maybe it has purple berries on it. You can just go nuts on this picture. Lots of fun little details behind him. It's kind of fun, like a book illustration type of picture, or like if you were a cartoonist making just kind of a fantasy cartoon or story. That's what these remind me of. So the next thing I'm going to do is just add some plants and stuff to the background and color the sky and kind of finish this up. I think the last thing I'm going to do is just add some blues and purples to the background for the sky. So I think I'm going to have it kind of fade from blue to purple. So I'm just going to color lightly through the sky. And this will be like my finishing touch here. And if you have paint, you could add like little white stars in the sky. You've just got a lot of options depending on what materials you have at home. And then how you would like your picture to look. So I'm adding kind of this dusk sky. So it's light, but not super light out. It's getting darker. I'm going to use this blue-violet for the rest of my sky. Colored pencils will work really good with this. I use mostly crayon and marker, but whatever materials you have will look fantastic. Oh, he's looking so fun. And I got one last section. And we're just kind of experimenting here. So I might take yellow and see if I can make it look like there's fireflies. Oh yeah, that shows up good. So then if you wanted, you could put some little fireflies, or they could be stars with my yellow. And I think it just gives it a little more of a fun look. And I think this is going to be it. So depending on where you had him, if he was in a tree or if he was in a flower and a little mushroom house, whatever you had, whatever details you wanted to add. Maybe he has a whole little gnome family you wanted to draw. It's going to be up to you, and I can't wait to see what kind of little gnome you create. That looks like the end of this. I love it. So make sure that you finish coloring your gnome, some kind of background, and don't leave any white space, and I can't wait to see what you create.